saw John do it or somebody do it, I'm gonna do it.
Good morning. Welcome to Quorum Court. I'd like to thank you all for coming. We have a cell phone, thank you at all. Matt Phillips, would you honor us with our morning prayer and pledge of allegiance?
Well, sir. Lord, we thank you this day. You allowed us to get together, Lord, to do this business one. Now we just ask you to give us the wisdom to go about it and do it in the right way. We just thank you for everybody that protects us, Lord, and keeps them safe. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Jimmy, would you do the roll call, please?
Mr. Heaton?
Here.
Mr. Clay?
Here.
Mr. Garrison?
Here.
Mr. Harrington?
Here.
Mr. McNeely?
Here.
Mr. Mills?
Here.
Mr. Phillips?
Here.
Mr. Reed?
Here.
Mr. Ritchie?
Here.
Mr. Riggs?
Here.
Mr. Swafford?
Looks like we have Ken present. Before we go any further, I want to thank all of you. Each one's opinion is important to them. That's given the respect to let everybody get good speaking. Raise your hand and you will be noticed. Next item is approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion on that?
I have an amendment before we ask for approval. Wanda asked me to bring this up. The 4 key people can't make it today, and they asked to be put off till next month, so I move we amend the agenda to take miscellaneous item A off. And with that amendment, I'll move for approval.
I'll second.
Ron made the motion, Jack. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Agenda has been approved. Next item of business is disposition of journal proceedings, approval of the previous minutes. Anybody have any additions or corrections? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Move we approve. Second.
Jack approved, Jim second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item is public comments, 3 minutes. Do we have anyone who wishes to speak? Oh, Mayor, I didn't see your hand. Yarn's not long enough.
I apologize for not getting around early and getting on the agenda. I passed out a letter here, and what we're, hoping to do is get this.
Tim, excuse me, would you move over there so you're on our camera? We're videoing the procedure, and we'd like to have you on there. And you need to be in that.
Tell me when to stop.
That's good, right there.
This is my best time. All right, then 3 minutes haven't started. But we've been discussing this issue of jail dispatch fees and other issues for quite some time, and I've tried to put this letter together to kind of state what Maryland feels like we need to be on this issue, and we just feel like it's time to close this and move on. With all the controversy over who pays for what, we had an election and we signed agreements, and we feel like it's been resolved, and that, along with the decommissioning of all the city offices in the county, I just think it's had a negative effect on the morale of law enforcement in the county. I know the guys out there in the field, they're out there to do a job, they do a good job, and they're going to take care of each other. I just feel like that, if everything the sheriff was asking for, if the city should grant it, they're talking about $40,000 or $50,000. It's just all been worth it. And so anyway, this letter, it states where the city is on this issue, and that's where we're going to stand, and we're going to try to move on and just take care of business. I don't have any other comments other than that. I think the letter speaks for itself. Appreciate all you guys and your service to the county. Thank you.
Thank you. and miscellaneous. Under B would be the Carroll County Sheriff's Library Bob.
Yeah, try to make my comments very, very brief. Because we have, I haven't had a chance to read Mr. McKinney's letter. But what concerns me is that we need to bring an end to this issue. It has to be resolved. And unfortunately, we have not been able to come to agreement. I have talked to Charlie Reese from Green Forest, and he is going to have me appear before their city council to discuss these issues. And his concern is that he doesn't want to move forward until there's an ordinance saying that they need to be paid for some of the services. That's where we stand with Green Forest. Probably the biggest concern that I have is that there's been a lot of controversy, there's been a lot of negative talk, and as far as the interpretation of the ballot title, what the verbal agreement included. And here a few months ago, I came across these agreements that all cities have signed. And in those agreements, it states very clearly the only free services that the cities are to get are the housing of prisoners. And in exchange, they're supposed to pay for all the medical. And I thought by sending those out to the cities that we'd be able to sit down and come to a solution, but it did not happen. And then shortly after the letter goes out, then we had an issue with not wanting to pay for services going back by the interpretation of the I feel better than you, Brian. That there's, again, went back to an interpretation of the ballot. And then again, we were given a $4,000 bill from Mercy Hospital for an inmate that was taken to them by the variable PD, because either you go by the federal law or you go by the written agreement we have with the cities. We're responsible for the medical of their prisoners. So I thought it best, because I brought this up to them back in January, that come July we do come to a solution. Otherwise, I will not provide the services. So what I'm hoping is that if we can come up with a city ordinance, a county ordinance, and what I consider to be a very, very reasonable fee. Prior to all this happening, the cities were not Eureka Springs, they always had their own dispatch. But both Green Forest and Berryville were paying $18,000 a year for half a dispatcher. Now I realize we have all these other services that we've been providing them that are not covered, by this agreement. What I'm offering to them is for each of them to pay for a full dispatcher, which is $36,000. But since they are just starting out this year, and they got the new budget year, pay for half the dispatcher for the first year, and then the second year, then pay for the full dispatcher. And we will provide all of these services that we have been providing, regardless whether it's covered by the ballot, whether it's covered by the verbal agreement, but we would like for this to come to an end and come up with a solution.
When you talked about the stopping services on the ACIC, now, are you still going to run ACIC on traffic stops, or are you talking about the entering data and whatever like that?
The traffic stops is not a 911 situation. So we continue to do everything that is 911. Whether we're talking about the police departments, we're talking about the paramedics, we're talking about fire, nothing will change when it comes to 911.
I have something else. In the last year, this Quorum Court passed an ordinance at this table, and it was worded to where there wasn't any loopholes in it. I don't remember all the exact wording, but I know at the end of it, it was put that Central Dispatch would provide all services to the police department and police officers that is providing to its deputies. And we passed that ordinance at this table. Now, where is that one to?
It's not, it's right here.
Ron?
Just to comment on that, my understanding of that, and I think Devin is the one that told us this, is that the ACIC services are not a part of dispatch. That's a separate function. The ordinance says that dispatch services will be provided, but it doesn't, ACIC is not part of dispatch. That's an extra service, and the data entry has to be done by the departments themselves.
That's the reason I asked the question that I just asked, whether we were talking about the data entry or we were talking about dispatch running ACIC on traffic stops. And the sheriff said that he was going to discontinue it on traffic stops. That is a service that his deputies are getting on traffic stop, and we said in the ordinance that police officers would be provided all the same services that the deputies were providing.
Devin's next, but then you, Mom.
I would like to distinguish and flesh that out a little bit. There are ACIC services that are tied to dispatch. Those are the background check, active warrants, whether a person has a warrant. Separate from that is another ACIC function, which is data entry for search warrants, stolen property, things of that nature. I do think that theoretically those are separate, but I think according to the ballot, and I believe this was Ralph Ohm's interpretation as a court's attorney a few years ago, those services need to be provided by the county. Now, theoretically, the county can say, okay, but we don't want to do the data entry part. The problem with that is that Berryville and Green Forest pay in to part of the ACIC. So if the dispatch section of ACIC is covered under the ballot, the payment is theoretically going towards the data entry. So if you remove the data entry part, then you may have a situation where the city say, okay, fine, we'll do our own data entry, but we're not paying anymore.
I'm going to follow up with Devin. I agree. When we had this discussion, it was after several meetings, and the intent was to distinguish data entry from securing information from the database. So when a call comes into dispatch and they're pulling information out of ACIC, that is included, in my understanding of what we attempted to do, that is included in the dispatch function and is the responsibility of the county.
Larry?
Well, once again, are you planning to stop both? Or are you still planning to do the checks when there is a traffic stop? Or are you planning to stop both?
We say both, which you refer to, Larry.
I'm talking about the data entry. I understand that is two different things. But are you talking about also discontinuing running ACIC for police officers on the traffic stop?
On traffic stop, yes. And the
Okay.
reason being this, is that the Quorum Court does not have the right to tell me how to run my operation. That's an operational issue. It's not a financial issue. So my position is that you have no right to tell me how to run dispatch, how to run the jail, how to run. You control the finances, but you can't tell me how to do the operation.
Tim?
Sheriff, do you believe in that second paragraph from Mayor McKinney? Have you seen this yet?
I haven't read it, no.
Oh, I'm sorry, I wish, it's going to render that point mute, because Berryville now has its own terminal. That means they will enter their own information. They've entered into an agreement with the city of Urick Springs to dispatch after hours. I believe that renders the point of whether he will or will not continue services immaterial, because Berryville, at least for Berryville now, it's going to be different for Greenport. We're going to have to address that, but Berryville, I think, is a totally disassociated issue.
This is a question for Devin. What is the legal actions if the sheriff did this in violation of this ordinance?
Devin?
I haven't looked into that particular issue, and I don't want to give too much advice on that without having looked at it. However, I do think that this is all sufficiently wrapped up related to financial that I think that the Quorum Court does have the power to do that. Additionally, I would say that if the sheriff does not provide dispatch services on traffic stops, exposing the county to liability. And your practical response to that is you control the budget. But as far as other legal ramifications, I'm not prepared to comment.
Well, I agree with what Bob is saying, that we don't have the right to tell him how to run his office, that we control the funds. But you're saying you'll do this, they pay you so much money, so is it not all about the money?
Yes, it is. Money is part of it, yes. Yes.
So it's all about the funds.
Yes.
So to simplify this, if the sheriff refuses to do it, since we control the funds, we could take part of those funds and create a separate dispatch area that handles that. This is a very simplified approach. It is our only recourse.
Wrong.
Well, I think the problem may be working towards a resolution with Mayor McKinney saying that Berryville has made other arrangements for dispatch. So after-hours dispatch for Berryville will be handled by Eureka Springs. So the ACIC problem, which my understanding was being sure you had current, updated information after hours, is not the county dispatch problem anymore. It's the Eureka dispatch problem. But we still have Green Forest that the sheriff's going to have to deal with. But I'm not sure that we want to start shifting money and setting up new dispatches very quickly.
That's fine. But with Berryville now putting the bill for these out of their own funds, we're telling Berryville, okay, the county's responsible to pay for it, but if you want it, you have to pay for it yourself. Is basically what we're telling Berryville now. Berryville's not getting any money from us. They're paying for something that we said in our ordinance last year was the obligation of the county. And the county hasn't followed through on it, and now Berryville is putting that, the taxpayers of Berryville are putting that bill themselves, and very possibly will be throwing the same thing into the lap of Green Forest. That is patently unfair.
Gavin?
If I may ask Mayor McKinney a question. On your statement here, it says, no, he said, in your letter on the second paragraph, you referred to after-hours dispatching. Are you going to have all your radio calls through Eureka Springs, or just the ACIC gets?
We're taking all of our dispatch is going to be handled by Eureka Springs. Everything the county's doing now, they'll no longer have to worry about.
Okay.
We've got an agreement with them, we've got the technology in place, and we expect to go online in the middle of next week sometime.
Sure. You gotta get your hand on it, because it is.
Again, I think we can ignore that agreement that we have with each one of the cities. And I think we can write something that supersedes what that agreement is saying. Now, prior to doing this, I had contacted, at least talked to about 6 different attorneys to get their opinion about what we're trying to accomplish, the wording of the ballot, the verbal agreements, and how this all comes together. And they said that they have a very good position without taking. But they said, we can't take your case because we do business in Carroll County. It will affect our working relationship with businesses and the town court. They suggested that go to the Quorum Court, ask for money to put in your budget, to get an attorney to look into this issue. And he said, what do you think your chances of getting money in your budget to take a position against Quorum Court? And they said, the best thing to do is go to the news meeting and bring in ahead to this. I will provide all the services. If you want to pass an ordinance that is going to give me money in my budget so I can go out and get an attorney, I will continue to provide these services as we have been doing in the past. Give me the money to get an attorney so that we can resolve this issue.
Who was next?
Tim, if I can come back and address the idea of funding another position, or positions to furnish all of the things that we're not doing, furnishing. Well, who's going to run it, who's going to be the head of it, will it fall under the sheriff's office, how much money it's going to cost, and in order to enter anything into the terminal, ACIC, our Crime Information Center, has a requirement of a level 2 certification, and that's several days in process down at Little Rock that will come here. So I'm just wondering where we'll get the money and how to get it.
Ron?
I think that before we talk about setting up a different, any change in dispatch, we need to talk about what the sheriff has just proposed, which is give him the money to hire an attorney to try to resolve it. That's a lot cheaper than trying to set up a new dispatch system. It's also takes a lot less training, a lot less people. We need to figure out what the ballot requirements are, what the practical requirements are, what the effect of our ordinance is, and what we can do to make this work. The key to this is it needs to work for the county. I don't want to fight between the sheriff in Berryville and the sheriff in Green Forest and Eureka and Green Forest and whoever. We need to find a way to make this work. And maybe what it takes is some attorney who has no oar in the water here, no interest one way or another, to come in, work with Devin, who is our attorney, and figure out a way that we can make this work. The sheriff has said if we do that, he will continue services as they are. And that is a lot cheaper than trying to set up new dispatch systems or make big changes. We can't afford to set up a new dispatch system. We can't afford to replace the equipment we got in our current dispatch system, which is outdated and obsolete. So we need to figure out something that we can possibly afford to do, and maybe that something is hire him an attorney to work with Devin and see if we can't come up with some way to solve this problem.
First of all, the two of you read way too much into that comment. I started out by saying it's a very simplified look at what we're dealing with here. We have no control over the sheriff's office. Secondly, when we passed this ordinance last year, it was our attempt to provide an interpretation to the ballot title. That is our job. We've already done that. We've already declared what the ballot title means. And in terms of the agreement from 2004, I keep looking for something that refers to costs other than housing and medical expenses for prisoners. There's nothing else in here that I can find. So how does that apply to splitting the other expenses of providing services?
It doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, the agreement, you have to go back to the history of the agreements. Why the agreements came in place, what happened afterwards. Because what happened was when there was verbal agreements, we all know there was verbal agreements, there's audio recordings of hang on, I'm not done for it.
No.
But that's what these agreements were those written agreements were the when the sales tax passed, the city stopped paying for the jail. Well, the county couldn't afford that, so they came back to the counties and said, hey, we need you guys to pay. So that's why they established these written agreements on when to pay, when not to pay. That's why the verbiage is in there once the jail is operational and done. And then, every ordinance is pertaining to this, even to the 2008 ordinance, is possibly Tom McNeely, that repealed the 99 ordinance where the cities don't have to pay for dispatch fees. And they continued on until this ordinance here. As far as I'm concerned, the Quorum Court has decided where we stand on this. The sheriff is the one that's having an issue with this. Everyone else is in agreement with, okay, well, that's fine. It's the sheriff. If he wants an attorney, then he pays for the attorney himself. Has no budget. I don't think we should allocate any more budget because when we passed this last year, that's where we stood.
I'd just say that generally, when you have a written agreement, it speaks for itself. You don't go behind it to look at the reason for setting up the agreement. The agreement is limited. It covers just a few issues. It doesn't cover everything. That's why we're still having this problem. We've got the agreement, we've got the ordinance. They don't really conflict in very much. The medical payments are in the agreement. They're not in the ordinances.
Yes, it is. Here's the 2004 ordinance that covers those agreements.
It covers the agreements, but That's talking about the agreements. The medical payments are covered in the agreements.
Which is also covered in the ordinance.
Right.
Which just says the cities, but the cities have yet to receive any bills saying that they owe any money.
Well, okay, I'm just saying that the ordinance or the agreement is what talks about medical payments. Our later ordinances don't. It's a separate issue from dispatch. Dispatch is one issue. Medical payments for prisoners are another issue. We've got all various different issues that need to be resolved, and you can't resolve any of them by single part or even everything we've done. Everything we've done doesn't cover all of the issues.
Yeah, you got me.
I'm gonna go back to the dispatch part first, because it really disturbs me the fact that the dollar value on the safety of police officers that's on the street. And I'm disappointed in you, Sheriff, that you're putting dollar value on the safety of these police officers making a traffic stop in the middle of the night. Not the one where they're stopping a felon, or they're stopping somebody that's just going down the grocery store. My question is, what percent do you think Bearville's time is tied in dispatching their officers? I mean, on a 24-hour shift, is it 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or 5 hours? Just a rough guess, how much do you think is tied to dispatching the police officers in Green Forest versus Bearville? Just a rough guess.
I think it'd be a rough guess, because I'd have to take a look at the figures, but Jack, I'm just disappointed in what you're saying, because somebody else made a comment here too about what other police departments do. What do other counties do? Why don't you go to the 75 other counties in Arkansas, and you find out which cities are getting all of these free services? They're getting free dispatch, free ACIC, after-hour telephone service. Find it. If you can find that out, please let me know, because it's not my decision. I have been working with the cities for 6 months now. It's not that I'm doing it overnight. I'm going to give everybody an opportunity to prepare. Now, you're telling me what's $36,000? Then how come I can't have the money to buy vehicles for my deputies, which is also a serious situation that we're running about $200,000.
You got money this year to buy a vehicle.
Okay. Jack, verbal agreements, and I think it was Larry Swafford, I think, that came up with this, and he can argue with Pam what that's not incorrect. Years ago, the sheriff came in, wanted to buy 5 vehicles. They said, this is outrageous, we're not going to be giving you money for 5 vehicles. So they said, we'll give you $60,000 every year, you do what you want with the money. Okay, last year you took the $60,000 away. This year you gave us money for 1 vehicle. Now next year, we're going to be down 5 vehicles. We just gave a car to one of my officers that has 200,000 miles. You don't think that's a dangerous situation for my deputy? Yes, money is important, Jack. It's very important.
Let's back up. Last year, we took $60,000 from you for vehicles. No, we didn't. We said we need you to reduce your budget by a certain percentage like everybody else did. You chose not to take the vehicles. You could have done it in other areas. You chose not to do the vehicles, and you badmouthed us in the paper for short.
And again, Cindy Collins was sitting right next to me. She said, we'll look at the end of the year, maybe we can get you a vehicle. Just like you're going to look at the problem with one.
Just a rough guess, because if Bearville moves their dispatch to Eureka Springs, shall we reduce your budget in dispatch that much? Because you're not doing that dispatch anymore. That was my question. I just don't want to put a dollar value on dispatch.
Dispatch is based on the volume of calls that you have 2 dispatchers in 911. If you want to cut that budget, if you want it to reduce to maybe 1 person doing 911, that's fine, then you have a lot of lawsuits.
I don't want to cut it. I'm just asking a question for us to figure out a way around this thing, because we need to look for, these officers have got dispatchers.
All right.
Well, that was my question. If you quit providing them this service to the cities, is it going to save the county any people, any expenses, or is it going to stay the same?
It'll stay the same.
Okay. Well, I wasn't down. To finish what I was asking, and I don't want to get something else started, but I have got to say this. We're talking about the entering data, the ACIC data. The people that dispatch are qualified to do this because they run ACIC, so they're sitting there qualified to do this. We have been told that the sheriff's department the dispatchers did not have the time to take over from the collector's office to go after all the outstanding money that the county is owed. The county has, or that the dispatchers have time to do this on their night shift. So why don't they have the same time to enter the day? They're qualified people to do it. They're already qualified. So why do they not have the same time for us to enter the HDIC data for 6 weeks?
Well, I mean, when we were discussing this, the sheriff said the entry of the HCIC was not part of dispatch. That is done at the jail. So if it's the issue is the cities are paying for the entry fee, then why are they paying for a dispatcher when it's not a dispatcher's job? That doesn't make any sense. If he's saying that the HCIC entries is not dispatch, and we always agree that it's not a role of dispatch. It's a role that's been taken and done at the jail. So I don't understand why he's wanting money for a dispatcher when the function that he's arguing is not a function of the dispatcher.
Ron,
No,
with the Tim,
This coming to a matter of law. It's going to come to a court opinion in an appropriate jurisdiction, whether we like it or not. That's what we're doing. We can't resolve it apparently here, but if we need a lawyer, I would suggest that the Quorum Court hire a lawyer, not even give the money to the sheriff. If it's going to come down to it, ultimately, the lawsuits will be directed at us as well as the sheriff's office. In answer to Mr. Riddick, I can tell you what Benton County does. I know they're a bigger county and have more money. They dispatch for all of their smaller, unincorporated, and incorporated city entities. I don't know the jail degree. I don't have that. I can tell you, you call any one of the police departments in their county, and you get Benton County dispatch 24/7. There's another thought. It'll be cheaper in the long run. If all parties agree to it, would be arbitration by a competent arbitrator. This is not mediation. Mediation is not binding. Arbitration, the final decision is. That'd be cheaper, but that takes everybody on the same page to decide whether they want to do it.
yeah,
Question for Evan again, we're part of the municipal league, is that not correct? Don't they have their own bank of lawyers that just helps us out in areas like this?
I don't know whether you're part of the municipal league, but there is the city of counties that has an attorney. And I would just remind you, I'm not the first attorney that came to this conclusion. The Quorum Court came in 2008 making the same decision.
sure.
First of all, I think that when you're talking about dispatch, you're talking about jail function. The data entry requires somebody who has a level 2 ACIC, as Mr. Garrison had pointed out. My dispatchers are not ACIC level 2. My jailers are ACIC level 2, so they do all of the data entry. The ACIC, the license, they only gives them the authority to query the system, to check the entries. So they do not do any data entry in dispatch.
Gavin?
You're not sending the training to get level 2 certification?
No.
You cannot send them to HCIC training?
They don't need that. They don't need to do that.
Chairman, what I worry about is, like Jack pointed out, if they do not have this information where they pull somebody over for a suspect, they have to let the person know who did with it. With that person maybe going to do something wrong anywhere in the county, maybe just bring force he's playing, but it'd be good to have somebody that's going, hey, keep this guy going any further, and I still think the county needs to be safe like that. So there's a liability, as Devin pointed out.
Sure.
Might as well keep standing. You know, Mr. Garrison's comments, prior to this Quorum Court meeting, I called around to all the other counties that can touch with the sheriffs. And yes, in those counties, like for example, we do dispatch for Alpena. When it comes to a small operation where they only have one or two officers that can't afford to have a staff, to have dispatchers, yes, the sheriff's departments will do the dispatching for those small, officers. Now, when you talk about look at Boone County. Boone County has a 911 dispatch. Boone County has a Carroll County Sheriff's dispatch. They have a Harrison PD dispatch. The ambulance service has their own dispatch. So you can go around to all these different counties, you're going to find different setups, but when it comes to an unincorporated city, the county will provide a service, provided it is a small operation that can't afford to have their own dispatch. That's what you'll find around the state of Arkansas.
It's great to get all the information about what other counties do. We have a ballot. The ballot title controls what sentence dispatch is. We created an ordinance last year which further interpreted that ballot title. So it really doesn't matter one hill of beans what any other county does, unless they have a funding mechanism that has been put into place with the same exact language as this county passed some 10, 12 years ago. So, I mean, we can continue to talk about what these other counties do, but unless we know that they're operating under the same language, it's irrelevant. We're talking about Carroll County and Carroll County alone.
I think we've got several issues that need to be resolved, and we need to find a way to resolve it. This is one, and that, I agree, is controlled by the ballot. We also have the jail expenses, medical costs, which is covered by the agreement. We need to find out the legal effect of all of these things together and find a way to resolve the difference between the sheriff and cities. And that's for the benefit of the county and the cities and the sheriff and Quorum Court. It's for everybody's benefit to figure out how to deal with this. I don't know how to do it other than the possibility of what Tim suggests, that we hire an attorney whose job is to determine the legal obligations under the ballot title and under the agreement, under the ordinances that we have, and tell us what we need to do to have sheriff do what he's required to do, so that everybody can get this resolved, avoid any additional liability, any more hard dealings, any more wasted money. So to me, it seems to make sense to say, let's appropriate $10,000 to hire an attorney to look at this and see what he recommends. An attorney who's working for us, our attorney who's doing this in our interest. He can coordinate Devin, who is also our attorney, and help us come to a decision that solves all these problems. I don't want to solve just this bad. We still got the medical expense. We still got everything else. We got the agreements. We need to find something that solves all these problems between the sheriff and the cities. It's not good for anybody in the county to have Mayor McKinney unhappy with county services and have the sheriff unhappy with the way the cities treat the jail and the jailers, and to have us in the middle. We've got to find an answer, and to do that, we need to hire somebody who's working for us to do that, to give us a breakdown on everybody's responsibilities so we can write our ordinance, adjust our money to cover what we need. So I'd suggest we see if there is an agreement among Quorum Court to spend much money to do this. That's the only way I can see to do it. And I haven't heard any other suggestion that might help.
I guess my question would be, what was the problem before this started? I didn't know of any. Police departments were getting along, everybody was bills being paid, everybody was in the budget. We can't take a third of the ACIC costs. Are you looking for a problem that's not there? I mean, that's what I've been asked, why are you operating the way you have for so many years and everything was going so well? What's the problem? Besides
the sheriff's issue.
Sure.
I won't address that, but here, the other concern that I have, and I think that is why it'd be good if you have an attorney to represent you with these issues, because that agreement, when you look under the agreement, the cities are responsible for when they sign the agreement, they get 3,000 prisoners. It also states they're responsible for the medical for their prisoners until they become a county prisoner. If you look at that agreement, there isn't a severability clause in there that says you can pick or choose whichever one you want. So my question is, and it's part of this discussion here, which needs an attorney to take a look at it, that if they are refusing to pay for the medical of one of their prisoners, does that make the agreement null and void, and therefore can we start billing them for the health of money when someone brings it to her office? This position has some merit since the current statutes do not define collection.
So that's the letter that was received. Is Mr. Taylor here? Deb had her hand up.
There was another letter that Mr. Taylor wrote that goes in depth, and I've only read it once, but what he was indicating is that certain activities that the judge was ordering, such as referring to driver's licenses, those things really appear under the statute to be duties of the court, and that the clerk could not perform those duties as clerk, and that part of the issue with that is that she has limited immunity, whereas the court has full immunity. So, just to kind of clarify some of that, I'm not sure that it's saying, you know, haha, we don't have to do anything, but that some of the duties really are appropriately need to come from the court.
Ron?
Can you repeat to me how that acts with our responsibility to name a collector? What that has to do with that?
No, you can name whoever you want as the collector. The issue like driver's licenses and things like that, they really need to come from the court. Those notifications, regardless of who the collector is.
But if the court orders the collector to collect and to
then the
do those
collection
things,
is to receive the money. If
Right.
you want someone that goes out and hammers and does this and that, you need to hire a collection agency.
why can't we use the sheriff?
Well, he can do certain activities, but those appear to be duties of court. They would have to, it'd be getting information to the court, and then the court takes certain actions.
Are you saying that the 50 or 60 counties in Arkansas that use the sheriff to collect fees and fines are not doing it correctly?
I have no idea what they're doing. I'm not saying that at all. It may be that the sheriff is simply taking the money. I don't know. Perhaps he's referring records. I can't tell you. I haven't gone around and called 50 counties. All I can tell you is that you designate a person who receives the money. There are certain actions the county can take, but those, they may be actions that need to come from the court with the judge's immunity. That's the only point I'm taking. You're still going to have warrants issued that are served by the sheriff.
Dan, this letter we all received from Judge Curl, along with this huge ream of information, none of which is law. Here again, none of it. Look at it. There's nothing here that says that you shall do this and you shall do anything. They are recommendations. They are not predictive. There's not a bright line here. And even in the last part of his letter, if you'll notice, he says, these are things I could have been doing. And he received this 2 years ago. This is another attempt in an election year to push forward an agenda. And it's a wrong time to be trying this. It really is.
Yeah.
John.
Okay, John?
What we're voting on here is who is going to be the collector, that's all we're voting on.
Yeah.
I got over Ramon. You feel like you're done talking, you're supposed to have a progress report for us today, is that correct?
I have such figures, yes.
Let's hear what's happened since the last meeting. Would you like to have somebody to read it for you? I know you're not supposed to, you've got a bad back. I bet you that, I know.
It's my leg more than my back, but anyway, no, I'll be fine. It's divided between the Eastern District and the Western District. For March, the total that we collected in the Western District only, and this is all of the courts, it's not just the criminal fines and stuff, it's the court costs that we collect in those other courts as well, domestic and civil and juvenile. So for the Western District for March, we collected $5,720. And I won't bore you with all the details, but the things that have gone out to the other entities, to Little Rock mostly, out of that $5,700, we got to keep about $2,100. The rest of it went out. For April through the 15th only, Eureka Springs collected $3,293, and out of that we are able to keep $834.50. So, you know, the percentage that we get to keep is actually quite small. The rest of it goes other places. For the Eastern District for March, we collected from all the courts $20,511.55, and out of that we got to keep $4,302. So nearly, what's that, a fifth is all that we get to keep. For April thus far through the 15th, we collected $9,564.11, and of that we got to keep $3,948.54. So there again, about a third of what is collected. I intended to give you the totals that I collected on everything out of my office, the recording fees and all that. For last year, I know that it was almost $400,000. That's just off the top of my head guess. And I don't know how much we've done yet this year. I have been in email contact and telephone contact with, excuse me, thank you, concerning setting up the automation for doing this. It's in process now. So it will take a little bit of time, of course, to set it all up with the prerequisites that I must have, and I've sent all that to them, and they're working on setting that up. I've also had a woman volunteer to come in and input the data, free drugs. So it's a woman that I know well. I know that she's very, very careful. She will be accurate in her input of this information, and won't be intrusive, and set her back in a corner in the office, and she can work without bothering anybody.
Is your automation fund going to cover the expenses of doing the automation system?
Well, considering that the person that's working on this, the programmer that's working on it for me, says that he'll do it for me for free. So, yeah, I think so. Anything we collect over is free.
When do you think that it'd be up and running?
I'm hoping within 90 days.
From today?
Well, I don't know the exact date, but yes, I would say. Maybe sooner, but I don't know.
No?
I'd like to go back to my original question. Is what Mr. Taylor apparently told the judge correct? If you do get your system automated, if you do get all these things done, do you still believe that your only role in the collection of fees and fines and costs is to collect from the people who come to your office and bring you money?
Well, apparently that is what the statute says. Now, I did not receive a copy of this letter. It's sent to everyone, but I didn't receive a copy of it. So I don't know what the meeting consisted of. I don't know what.
I'm just asking if your attorney said that, if he was authorized to say that.
She needs a second to read it, because everybody here is saying that to her, so she...
Yeah. Well, I would say that, yes, this is true, but it was because of what they had told me that the statute said, that my role is to collect money when it comes across the counter. I take it and I deal with it.
Okay, that,
We have historically, and will continue to do in the future, provide the information to the judge's office of those that are delinquent in their payments. And then they will give me, the judge's office will give me an order to issue warrants, and I'll issue the warrants. That's as far as my role goes, because I certainly don't go out and arrest them and bring them in and shake them down.
so basically what you're saying is that what the judge says Mr. Taylor talked to him about is the same thing you and Mr. Taylor talked about, that he's representing you in this, and he's telling the judge that the judge really can't order you to do anything else other than accept money that comes in the office.
And I believe to issue the warrant. That apparently was not put in the letter, but I think that is correct.
Okay.
My job is to, and it would be the sheriff's job too. He cannot overstep his bounds any more than I can. Got to have the order to issue the warrants, and the warrants have to be issued before they can go out and collect any money, other than what comes in just voluntarily.
I agree. But Sheriff, Ramona, you can sit down and relax. I don't want to keep you standing. Sheriff, you collect for the district courts, don't you?
We collect the payments, yes, for the those are time payments, yes.
And do you, on the warrants you get, and do you go out and go to the state about driver's licenses, and go to IRS, and go to the state tax office about getting people's refunds and collecting money?
The way it works with the district court, they're on, Charlie, the virtual justice?
Yes.
They're on virtual justice, okay. We collect the money. We have to receive the money. They cannot collect the money over at district court, so all payments are received by us. At the end of each month, we take a listing of all those who came in and paid, plus the check for court purposes. At the end of that month, those who have not made a payment, the virtual justice system automatically kicks out all those who are delinquent. And that generates the warrant. And then it goes to Judge Jackson, and he signs the warrants, and they're sent over to us. When we receive them, then we attempt to serve them in the county. But the other question about the driver's license, that's an automatic thing with virtual justice, is that at the end of each month, then Betty sends that information to the Department of Finance, and they are the ones who suspend the license and notify the people of the license that's been suspended. We get the warrants and serve the warrants and go out after them as far as trying to get and send letters for those who are the county of the state.
So that's all basically part of the automation system to collect. Is that right?
Yes.
So if Ramona gets her office on virtual justice and an automated system, that would be included in that apparently.
Yeah. The felony failure to pay is done the same way.
Okay. Okay. Well, I have another concern in this line that I think we ought to discuss before we vote on the ordinance, and that is we recently got our audit from the legislative audit branch. In reading through this audit, I found something very interesting that makes me wonder what's happening. In December of 2012, our total accounts receivable for fees, fines, and costs for the county was $21,495. Now, Ramona said she spent 5 days going through the books and found $2.8 million in fees, fines, and costs in the books. Is that right, Ramona?
Well, I don't know where 21,000 for the year
This
came
is-
from,
Well,
because
this
I
is-
get that much in a couple of months sometimes.
No, this isn't, I don't think this is for the year. I think this is the accounts receivable balance.
What page you on?
12. The accounts receivable balance as of December 31st, 2012 is composed of the following. And it lists various items, but one is fines, forfeitures, and costs, which seems to indicate to me that in the books, that's what we were carrying December 31st of 2012 was $21,495. And you told us last month, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you went back and spent 5 or 6 days going through the records and found some 2.8 million owing. Now, instead of passing the ordinance, maybe what we should look at is getting the auditors to come back and look at these accounts and see what's really there. Is it 2.8 million or is it 21,500? There's a huge discrepancy here, and it looks to me like something that we need to research. I think we can get the legislative audit group to come back and audit these accounts and see what we're really owed. This is our audit for this year. And it clears up a lot of the discrepancies we've had in the past. There wasn't much in the way of discrepancies in here. The judge has cleaned up the inventory things. The judge has done a good job. The only discrepancies we had were in the district court accounting system, in their computer system, which I think has been corrected, and in the airport salary for their employee. Those were the only discrepancies we had, but this is an audit finding, so this is a pretty serious number.
Galen?
I think you're misinterpreting the numbers, because if you also look on here, it says property taxes, only $14,577. I think we probably collected a lot more money than $14,000.
That's not what we collected. This is accounts receivable. This is unpaid. Okay. This is what isn't collected.
I think that's probably, you might need an interpretation on what this box means from the auditor.
Well,
because you got officers' fees on 21,000. I don't understand where you're getting with these, thinking that there's only 21,000 left.
I'm just reading this account, and this is the audit account for December 3rd, financials, 2012. Yeah, it's at the end of 2012. Now, Ramona said the 2.8 million was owing for over the past 20 years, basically. And I'm sure that you're right, there's a big problem here. And we need to take a look at it.
Ramona?
Certainly, there's not $21,000 on the books. I have no idea what you're looking at. Apparently, I got my audit thing while I've been gone, and I have not seen it, but it was laying on my desk. But it sounds more to me, and Galen mentioned the taxes, what a paltry figure there. That's got to be just money that was collected that month. Help me see if you can. Well, I don't even know what they're looking at.
Harriet?
I'm like one of those. I have not had time to look at that. You know, but the accounts receivable, the whole county would be way more than that, just because of delinquent taxes.
Exactly.
And so, to bring this in without understanding what it is for does not fit this situation.
Well, this is the general fund figure. This is not total county. This is just what's owed the general fund.
Sandy?
Well, on your accounts receivable, this may be money that we should have gotten in December. We actually got it in January. They pull it back. It's 2012 money. So that's how they have to show it. So that's what it is. It's $279,000 total. If I'm looking at it, it's in the accounts receivable on page 12. Is that where you're at?
Yeah, the notes to the account financial statement.
So, you have some overlapping revenue and overlapping expenditures. This is overlapping revenue. It's revenue. When Ramona turns a report in the first or second week of January, that money is actually December's money. So they're going to pull it out of January and show it in the audit report, because they're auditing from January 1st to December 31st of 2012. this money did not actually come in until 13, so they're showing that this money is actually 2012 money. That's what this amounts to. Doesn't really necessarily mean anything, except that we received it in January when we got it.
Yeah.
Here we go again, dude. We're taking off in 4 different directions, and the subject on the table is this ordinance. Do we want to vote over it again, or we do it? My suggestion is, comparison is between what the sheriff does on his collection and what Ramona does on her collection. Let's compare them. Let's give Ramona time to get this automation system up. If she can't match the sheriff's productivity with the same system he's got, let's give it to him. But until then, let's give her the time to get this thing in line and compare the two of them. That's the ordinance we got on the table to talk about.
Yeah.
We need to talk about that, but not what we're dealing with this, I don't know.
Well, I'm just
Getting
guessing.
with that.
Excuse me?
You can't compare the figures from district court to circuit court.
Correct.
I mean, because you've got so many more cases. I mean, because if you go in there and you get a speeding ticket, you go to the sheriff's office and pay it, that's just cash on hand money that's going. You cannot compare the figures between. I mean, you can sit there and look at the frequency of, but just comparing, because they collected more to compare to hers, you can't do the comparison.
Ron,
I was just going to say, I was offering to withdraw the ordinance and take some time to look at this, but I'd like to get, the reason I brought up the audit was I think if we don't go through with the ordinance, we need to figure out what the deal is on this audit. And either get the auditors to come explain it to us, or get them to come in and audit this account, let's see what's really owed. Let's go back through it and see what's owed. That's why that came up.
Okay.
Getting your next,
If you turn to page 4 of the audit, the only 2 write-ups that the county got was for the airport manager and the district court. The county judge, the treasurer, the sheriff, the tax collector, the county clerk, the assessor, county librarians, and district court clerk is all in compliance with Arkansas physical and financial laws.
Even when I read the whole thing, and that's why I brought this up, I haven't even seen that accounts receivable, which
a month before.
On page 5, assets is where accounts receivable would appear, because accounts receivable is an asset. And as of 12/31/12, our accounts receivable in the general fund were $251,953. That is how much money was owing the county. So, if the fines and costs haven't been declared to be an account receivable, they wouldn't be included. And in that sense, I concur with Ron that I think this needs to be looked at, to make a determination as to whether or not the uncollected fines, fees, and costs need to be recorded in our balance sheet as an asset. From this number, it is not. This represents the total account receivable as of 12/31/12.
Ron?
Yeah, that's the total for the whole general fund. So that includes receivables other than the fines and fees. The $21,495 is what they were carrying, and I don't know, maybe it's 1 month, maybe it's 1 year, I don't know, but I think we need to investigate and find out what we really have on this, and to do that, I believe we need to ask the auditors to come talk to us and explain this to us. We get this audit every year, and we look at it and bless it and talk about it, and I'm not sure we really understand it. When I started looking at this, I got very confused.
By all of the standards I've seen in my 20-some years, this is a very good audit in, all the areas. Now, the auditors, already had notification, they're going to be here to start probably the end of this month or May. This is something that we can tell them that the Quorum Court has concerns about, and within their duties, would they look at it? But, you don't ask for auditor to specifically hone in on something unless there is possibly some question about it. But we can tell them that there are concerns about it, and will they look at it? And so they will be here in the next 6 weeks.
Ron? Larry?
Well,
Larry was first.
I think the main thing that you're wanting to know, Ron, is whether all the fines should be included in the accounts receivable, and get an opinion from the audit people on whether it should be. I'm kind of thinking that if it was supposed to be in there, the audit people would done have it in there. They missed very little when...
Well, then, why isn't more of it in here? That's all I'm asking. I would like to invite them to come talk to us at the next meeting and explain to us. Maybe it is too old. Maybe they're saying it's out of age. I don't know. But why don't we invite somebody from the audit committee to come address us? I think they will do that. I think they've told us before, if we ask. So...
Ron, do you want to withdraw this?
Yeah, I'll withdraw the ordinance. We can give Ramona time, but I also want to make, and I may do it on my own. I may just write to the audit committee and ask them if they'll send somebody here to talk to us. But I want to see what you guys think about it. I think we need to find out what's really in our account receivable for fines and fees.
Ramona?
So you're just going to hone in on Ramona only. I'm the only one that's turning any money into the county. You know, and that's okay, please do not take this personally. Kay has all kinds of delinquent taxes. Are y'all jumping on her to get out there and collect that delinquent taxes? No. Are you jumping on Jamie and saying she's got to sell more marriage licenses and more passports and make more money for this county? No. You're jumping on me only. And I'm just getting a little bit tired of it. I have nothing to hide. If you want to bring in an auditor, fine with me. I don't care. I have nothing to hide. I have done my job to the absolute best of my ability, to what I believed that I was allowed to do. Just in the very last few years have I been told that I have a little bit more authority. We wrote letters to the last known addresses on people, most of whom came back undeliverable, but we collected some money that way. I had no idea that I did anything other than when somebody came in the door, they handed me money, I collected it, receipted it, dispersed it to where it was supposed to go. It seems that this is same song, already this year, third verse, pounding on me. And I'm sick of it. I'm not the only one in this county that brings in revenue. Now, back off and leave me alone.
John, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that what the sheriff described that works with the district court, the automation provides him the information that then he uses in collection. It seems to me like when Ramona gets automated, that she will be a mirror image of the district court, and I don't see why that same system wouldn't work just fine.
Sure.
Yeah, the other day, we had a joint investigation with the Boone County Sheriff's Office. And in Boone County, the sheriff is responsible for the collection of fines and fees. And he told me that if Carroll County needs any assistance at all, the person who heads it up and does the collection would be made available to us. And I'm not saying it made available to me, I would be making her available to work with Ramona. Because I am concerned because I look back at the last 15 years, looking at the number of failure to pay warrants that were issued. In 14 of those 15 years, 0 failure to pay warrants were issued. There was only 1 year that was under Judge Crow. My concern is if I cannot get the warrants, I cannot serve them, the county cannot get the money that is due them. I have talked to the auditors in the past, because we get audited every year. I have brought up this situation with the auditors. They take notes, but it's something, well, we're gonna have to go back and talk to Joe, see what he wants to do. So if something needs to be done, you're gonna have somebody from the legislative audit come here and talk to you to explain this. And I just, right now, listening to, and Ramona, you're not the only one being picked on.
Without the collection of the money it is.
But the thing is, to be honest with you, after listening to what's going on here, I don't want to have anything to do with the collection of the fines and fees. I want to be part of the system to get the money for the county, but I know darn well that if I was the one collecting the fines and fees right now, and I reported to you that there was $2.8 million of uncollected fines and fees, I guarantee you there could be a different reaction from the Quorum Court. I'm telling you that I will make myself available to help out Vermont in any way. Boone County has told me they would be glad to help give me some assistance to get it done, and I would rather stay with Ramona, but if you're looking at, again, trying to get an audit, starting with the auditors is not the way to do it. You have to go to the top person that's in charge of that audit.
Ron?
I'd just say that this $2.8 million, if that's what it is, isn't just county money. It's victim restitution. It goes to the Administrative Justice Fund, which helps fund our court. And if you notice that the money in that fund is getting pretty low, that's going to drop a bigger burden on the county to fund the circuit court. That's important money that goes to lots of different people in lots of areas. Ramona said that we get about 20% of what she collects. Well, I assume that other 80% is victim restitution, justice fund, state fund. It all goes to pay some bills. So it is important money. And I'm not trying to pick on Ramona. I'm trying to find a way to collect this $2.8 million, which looks to me like it should be low-hanging fruit and fairly easy to collect. So, as I said, I'll withdraw the motion. I am going to contact legislative audit and ask them to send somebody here next month to get on the agenda and address us about the audit, so we will understand what this is instead of guessing. Because it looks strange to me that the fines and fees portion of our $250,000 accounts receivable is only $21,500. That sounds very low to me, whatever it is. But I'm going to ask them if they will come talk to us. I don't know if they will, but I will contact them and see if they will, and let's find out what this audit is really saying about that.
Ramon?
The $21,000 that you're talking about is just about right on point, how much I turn in each month.
This shows that you paid that we collected some $400,000 in fines and fees last year. And your portion of that is, I don't know if it's half of it or what, but that's the total collected. If you look at the revenue page, it shows that our fines and fees that came in last year were $400,000 and some thousand. So fines, fees, forfeitures, and costs, $408,918 to the general fund. That's $410,000.
Sandy?
That is all lumped together. They consider the sheriff, county clerk, circuit clerk, anybody turns in this, that's all lumped together. That's not just circuit court.
Yeah.
So that's showing and that's what they call it, officers, fines, and fees. Now, as far as the Administrative Justice Fund, we are taking in about what we always have on the county level. What you're talking about, Ron, is what is sent to the state. We are still sending more every year. I really don't know what the problem is with the state, and I've told them that. But I think it has to do with expenditures rather than revenue. But we are doing our part on that. And the Administrative Justice Fund does help us pay for some of our court costs. The circuit judge and various other judicial positions are paid by the state from the Administrative Justice Fund. But our portion of Administrative Justice does pay for our judicial system here. So.
Hey.
Ron, there should have been a letter with that audit report that you received telling you of the date that the Legislative Audit Committee will be reviewing that, and you have the opportunity to go and participate in that, and that would be a good place to get your questions answered
I understand that.
about that report.
Yep.
Did you say, well, you're gonna make a motion to withdraw?
Yep, no, I said I'd unilaterally withdraw it.
He's one sponsor.
It's my ordinance, I'm withdrawing it.
So we don't have to vote on it? Let's get on to something else. Next item of business is number B. Would you read that, please, Mr. Chairman?
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of Carroll County, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an appropriation to fund an existing position in the Carroll County Assessor's Office. Whereas the Carroll County Assessor's Office is in need of a full-time employee. Section 1, the sum of $23,167 is hereby appropriated from the general fund to the following line items. Line item 1001, salaries, $15,785. Line item 1006, Social Security, $1,208. Line item 1007, retirement, $2,352. Line item 1009, insurance, $3,276. Line item 1010, workers' comp, $21. Line item 1011, unemployment, $525, for a total of $23,167.
Move to adopt.
Got motion adopted, on second, any discussion?
Joanne, jump in here, I think this was supposed to read, not an existing position, but when the budget committee said we'd probably have to hire somebody, that didn't make it.
It's an unfunded position. I have an existing position, it's just unfunded.
What this is, we realized she can need some help in there when we start doing this, and on the same note, you got a girl around this level. She is doing fantastic.
I tried to get her to come this morning.
We're getting more information
Probably could move on.
since she took this over to the rural fire department. I've got 6 new move-ins, I would have known we went in without her getting this
She
information.
is right on top of it.
Doing a great job.
She's doing double duty, and her hair's getting all thin, but she
Looks like
did
this
it.
tonight.
Any more discussion? Call for vote.
Mr. Deaton?
Yes.
Mr. Flake?
Yes.
Mr. Garrison?
Yes.
Mr. Harrington?
Yes.
Mr. McNeely? Oh, sorry, you left. Mr. Mills?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mr. Riggs?
Yes.
Mr. Swafford?
Yes.
Orders passed. Next item of business is under C. Would you read that, Mr. Chairman, please?
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Carroll, State of Arkansas, an appropriation ordinance to be entitled. An appropriation ordinance amending ordinance 2013-25, the 2014 budget ordinance, and appropriating monies into the county voting system grant fund number 3038. Whereas Carroll County received grant funds in the amount of $14,055.48 from the Secretary of State's office to purchase voting system equipment and supplies. Now therefore, be it enacted by the Quorum Court of Carroll County, State of Arkansas, Section 1, the sum of $14,065.48, hereby appropriated into the County Voting System Grant Fund number 3038, Department 0109, line item 2013-CVSS 14.
Move to adopt.
Larry moved to adopt. Gave an order.
This is just basically what it says. We got grant money from the Secretary of State's office, and it goes in the general fund. It's going to be appropriated out.
Any more discussion? Call for the vote.
Mr. Deaton?
Yes.
Mr. Flake?
Yes.
Mr. Garrison?
Yes.
Mr. Harrison?
Yes.
Mr. McNeely? Sorry, Mr. Mills?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mr. Riggs?
Yes.
Mr. Swafford?
Yes.
Passed. Next item of business is JP comments. Yeah?
Just a quick note, I want to thank the department heads out there. We got a group of ladies together last month and went over, Dan Wilson came over and trained them on do the recording and getting the copies, and I want to thank all the department heads who sent the girls over. And Sheriff, I appreciate, our kid has just jumped on board and grabbed it, and she is taking care of it today for us, and we'll do the recording and send it off. And I know Devon's girls found out there were other issues they could use this thing for, and it worked out real well. We've got a lot of people involved that knows how to run it now, so if somebody's gone, somebody else will step up, and all we all working together, I really appreciate you coming and doing this.
Okay.
Wrong.
So we don't need anybody to monitor, we don't need anyone sitting up there, the system's set up and it's all automatic?
Oh, no, we've got a scan on this area right here, but they don't want me in the picture.
Okay.
You come to record this area right here, and then once it's over with, they go back and just pull the information off the machine.
Okay, wonderful.
Can we move seats, Judge?
Can we move seats? I think the glare from this is a big problem.
I shouldn't cut my hair off.
It misses that.
Anyone else?
Recently, I just desire to, say thank you to all the servicemen here tonight. I just wanted to publicly pronounce, say thank you for everybody that served. It gives me the right to do what I do. So I just want to say thank you to everybody that participated in that.
You're welcome. Thank you. Anyone else? Ron?
I just want to announce that we are working on setting up a water system for the more central part of the county. We have engineers that are doing a survey and map of the houses in the appropriate area where we're looking at doing it. We have several sponsors that are willing to be on the board and to do it via a public water authority, like we talked about in the water committee. And the engineers are actually out mapping right now as we speak. They're going on every road, charting every house. After they get all the names and addresses, they're going to send out letters to get initial interest, to see who is interested. This is a system, the plan is to run it up the north central part of the county, to come on the roads that go off at 221 north and off 143, and set it up for that area. The engineers say it's not a big deal to cross the river, and that this is a very doable system, they think. So they're doing the preliminary work to get ready to see if we can get a water system started for that part of the county. I just thought I'd bring that up.
Have they decided on the source of the water?
Well, they're looking at two different sources. One is a big well up along the border somewhere. The other is Carol Boone. Now, Carol Boone has the big advantage of not requiring a treatment plant if we get Carol Boone water. So the thoughts are leaning towards connecting with Carol Boone, contracting with them for the water. But that's all preliminary right now. We're just working on it. So it's a start.
Larry?
On a public water authority, will they get their own loans and be responsible for their own loans?
Quorum Court, no governmental agency has anything to do with it. It's a private operation.
I know they don't have any control over it, but do they, if it falls through, does the county assume responsibility for any debts?
County gets no responsibility on it. It is a private operation funded by grants out of the DEA and ADEQ and grants and loans. And the farm bill includes some money to help set up these rural water systems. And so they expect to be able to get something over 50% of the cost in grants, and then the rest in loans, and the fees for service will be set based on the number of users and the amount of the loan to repay the loan. So that's what pays it. There's no county liability or county involvement.
Okay, that was my only question.
Anyone else? Yeah.
Sheriff, jump on board if I'm wrong. Your sheriff's in the negotiations with Holiday Island about the possibility of hiring a full-time deputy to be dedicated to Holiday Island. If this contract all works out and both parties are satisfied with it, I'll be bringing an ordinance next month to allow the sheriff to have one extra deputy over what his county is now, because it'll be totally funded by Holiday Island, it'll be no expense to the county up. And so if this all materializes and stuff, I will be bringing one for you all next month.
Anybody else?
Sure.
Sure.
You're going to, an ordinance for us to have another deputy?
If you work out a contract with Holiday Island to dedicate one to Holiday Island, we will get an ordinance that allows you to have an extra deputy, because I will not shortchange you to the rest of the county.
We have signed a contract last week.
But everybody else has not signed it yet, from what I understand. The board meets Monday.
Oh, okay. And one thing we'll help pay for is that our maintenance supervisor, Walt Oscar, found out that in our laundry room, the plumbing that was done for our heaters, for the washing machines, everything, have been out of code ever since it was built. And so they came in and they readjusted all of the heaters, and then we changed it over to cold water so that we're not using hot water. We're probably gonna save up to $1,500 a month just in the heating bill.
Cindy?
Well, actually what Holiday Island does is just reimburse a deputy position. We don't hire another person just for that. That's what we've always done. They just reimburse us for a deputy position.
That was our question, could we pass an ordinance to allow, because if he puts one at Holiday Island, exclusive to Holiday Island, it's gonna be short in one for the rest of the county. That was.
Well, it's always worked that way. I mean, we've taken money from Holiday Island and had someone over there and they live there. That'll just be up to the court, but we'll have to appropriate more money over and above that. So.
Well, in my opinion, if Holiday Island pays for the sheriff's deputy and expenses, and you put one over and leave it, if you come to us and ask us for another deputy, I'll be in favor of it. Because it won't be costing us another deputy.
That's what I'm
So if we have to go that route to get there, is what I'm saying. Because if you dedicate one to Holiday Island, I know that person will be available in major emergencies to pull away. But that's going to short you in the rest of the county, a deputy. So if you put one over there and Holiday Island reimburses us for it, well then we should be able to afford to let you hire another deputy so that you won't be short in the rest of the county.
And, no, I appreciate that, because the same issues we have on Holiday Island are the same issues we have with Grassy Dock, Inspiration Point, the other areas. They don't have any patrol out there either, so if you were to do that, that gives us a lot of flexibility on the west side that we have never had. And we've worked out really well. Thank you.
Anyone else? Sue? I can't see. Anyone else?
Nope, no short answer.
Is it over to me? I'd like to thank you all for today, and also I think we're supposed to tell you about receiving your legislative audit pack. We've already discussed that. Is there anything else you need to ask about it? John?
I just want to say that it was a very good audit, and we solved all the previous discrepancies we had. The discrepancies that are on there are new and kind of one-time deals, so this is the best audit we've had since I've been on here. And I think Sam gets a lot of credit for that. And of course, Cindy and Joanne, all the elected officials are involved in that, and we didn't have any discrepancies among our courthouse offices. The only ones were the airport and the district clerk's office, and that read to me like a machinery problem, a software type problem that they got resolved. So I'd like to congratulate Sam and thank him for doing a good job on the audit discrepancies from before.
I don't deserve any credit for people that helped me do it as long as you deserve credit. Thank you very much. Every officer here.
I think they need to vote and approve it. That's what they're supposed to do. Has to be in the
Vote
minutes.
to approve it?
Yeah, that they've approved the audit.
It needs to be on the agenda.
It doesn't have to be.
Do I have a motion to approve the legislative audit?
I'll move.
Lamont moved, Ron second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Cindy. Well, it's about time to move on. I appreciate what you're doing for Holiday Island. I think the county judge is the only one that could sign a contract for the county. And I'd be glad to visit with you, and you'd help you if you could.
I thought Dennis Kelly met with you last week, if you told me something.
Did not, sir.
Okay.
He thought they met with you last week.
Because when he left my office, he was headed to your office to sign the contract.
Never saw it.
He has to take it back before our board before he brings it.
And I don't have a
He ran
problem.
it.
I have a motion to adjourn.
Listen,
All in favor?
Sheriff, above ground today. How are you? Okay, good day. We're above ground. You always go for everybody else.
Say you say.
So what? 10 and 19, all that. They only hit my two. It's that 10 and 19, all that. They pulled their contract. So now we're going to work in the other, I can get that time.
How are you doing?
And that's where Cindy's saying,
Live to another one. I mean, there.
Hey, Ron?
Children.
So that's, like, it's still on the state council.
Yep.
Something,
Yeah, I'm like,
that we didn't think
good
of,
luck.
they had brought my attention when Holiday Island dropped their contract with the county.
No, that'd be good.
For the two deputies they had,
See you, buddy.
the sheriff didn't lay any off.
That's all.
He kept all those deputies and we kept paying them instead of Holiday Island, so now we're talking about, and I was the one that spoke up and said that if you put one at Holiday Island, that we're giving one to replace it. But when Holiday Island quit funding the two, old contract, they quit funding the two, they didn't disappear.
Don't we have an unfunded position over there?
He's got 19 deputies. Okay, he's got slots of
In other words, he.
Well, I know what you're saying,
I mean, that's a harsh term, but in other words, he didn't get rid of them when he lost his funding. He kept them, and we kept funding.
But no, I thought we didn't, I thought we had one that wasn't funded over there, that's authorized but not funded.
Unless you've done something in the budget.
I don't know.
Or whatever.
I don't know.
I don't know, but we do need to look.
Because you got 19 deputies, based on what you said, that if he gets a Holiday Island, they're gonna fund one, then he's gonna hire another one, so he's got 20.
Well, basically, the bottom line is, when they quit funding, he didn't get rid of them. And so now that they're gonna contract for them, we're talking about adding one, so we'll be short. Good point. Good point.
I will. Yeah, we got to do it. Once we get their maps done.
Gets a little confusing.
Like the press, try to work with it, because it really is.
Follow up on all the
Yeah.
You don't want us to be accomplished, you want people to know.
Yeah, I really do want to get it in the press, but I want to have the maps and have the area kind of defined, so we can, but we are making progress.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
That was a lot of writing, but I'm gonna sum it up. Wow.
Yeah, you don't
I
have,
will sum it up.
you don't have to put every word in.
I'm not gonna, but I wanted to get into just to get rid of it for back to,
Yeah.
you know, I'll do that.